Hello folks. On the table here I have a camera that I reviewed a while back, and my basic conclusion was that it isn't a very good value. I've since had several people comment that it would make a good old school look camera. In other words, if you wanted to create a scary horror scene with the look of a 70s or 80s movie, this camera could be just the ticket. I lean more towards feeling that it's not worth spending money to get a poor performing camera just for that one use case, when you could instead tweak footage from just about any camera to give a low quality look. I basically said as much in a reply, and the viewer disagreed and suggested I make a video to test it out. So that's what I did. Thanks for the idea. This has been a lot of fun. Bear in mind, this video is not meant to prove anyone right or wrong. Everyone is going to be after a certain look in their videos, and neither of the videos I ended up with is correct or incorrect. This was just some fun to see what results I could come up with these two cameras. This is the first time I've attempted to do anything quite like this, so it's nothing super special. I'll quickly go over the setup before I show the results. I figured the whole idea is that this cheap camcorder should give the look that you want right out of the camera. So other than cutting and adding sound, I didn't edit the footage at all from this camera. The video is straight out of the camera, recorded at 1920 by 1080 resolution at 30 frames per second. I also maintained that resolution right the way through the process. For all the recording I did, this cheap camera was actually attached to the shoe mount on this Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and both were recording simultaneously. With the Pocket 4K, I recorded at 1920 by 1080 resolution, 24 frames per second. I didn't attempt to match the look from this cheap camera in editing. I only attempted to make the video look a little bit like old school footage. I warmed the color a bit because I think the gritty blue-gray color scheme of scary movies is more of a modern style. I also upped the contrast a bit, and that was pretty much it. I could have messed with color, contrast, and dynamic range if I wanted to more closely match that look of this camera, but like I said, that really wasn't my goal. I then rendered the video from the Pocket 4K at 720 by 480 resolution, 24 frames per second, at 2 megabits per second. I then brought that rendered file into the timeline for this video, which will be rendered at 1920 by 1080, 24 frames per second, at 30 megabits per second. That won't change the footage from the Pocket 4K much because the detail and resolution is already gone from being rendered at the lower setting previously, and the footage from this cheap camera will only have been rendered at 1920 by 1080, 30 megabits per second. Just so you have an idea what you're looking at. Also note, I did not use the internal audio from either camera. I used a separate microphone and sound recorder, so take that for what it is. And with that, here's my silly little scene that I threw together last night. I'll show the footage from the cheap camcorder first. And there you have it. Now, I'm not here to tell you which look you should prefer. This was just a fun project, and these are the results I came up with. These videos could be edited and tweaked a million different ways, so these are hardly the only results somebody could get from either of these cameras, particularly the Pocket 4K. Someone with a slightly different eye while editing would likely come up with a completely different look. So if nothing else, maybe this video will inspire you to get out and use whatever camera you can afford to have some fun recording. This little scary scene was totally outside of what I normally do, but I had a blast doing it. Hopefully this was helpful or interesting. If you have any questions or if there's anything else specific you want me to try, let me know. Thanks for watching. Take care.